As we get closer now to creating and defining the actual tables that will appear in our relational database, along with the actual fields that will appear in each of those tables, we need to think back now to a topic we discussed in a previous lesson, and that's normalization. So we've broken down the fields into their smallest forms, we've separated them into tables to avoid redundancies, and now we need to think about how we're going to relate these tables one to another. As you recall, we talked about primary keys and foreign keys. So if we look over here at the very far left at our album table, we need a field in here that will uniquely identify our albums. So maybe an album ID, for example. And then to relate the albums to the songs, we might need to see that album ID somewhere in the songs table. That becomes the foreign key. And as we think about it, we've got locations, we've got genres, and we've got media. Well, as I think about the various albums, they can only be stored in one location at a time. So maybe we don't need a locations table, and the location field can go back in the album table. Same thing for media. Genre really applies to the various songs, so maybe that field belongs in the songs table. But we're missing something here. We notice that we've got the artist field here in the album table, and we've got the artist field here in the songs table. Think about an album that has various artists on it. The answer in this field will be various, while over here for the specific songs, we'll have actual performers. So we can't have the same field here named the same thing. We'll change that to performer, and then we might need a table listing all of our performers that will be linked to the songs table. And that's how I came up with this next image. Here you can see we've got our album with the album ID in bold with the asterisk indicating this is our primary key. So we'll never have duplicate albums showing up. This is the unique identifier for each of our albums. A title, the artist, again, that could be various, or it could be a group, or it could be an individual. We're going to rate these, the condition it's in, where it's located, and what type of media it's on. As we go over to the songs table now, you see we've got a song title. Instead of a performer, we've got a performer ID because we've now got this performers table, which will have a performer ID. Each performer will have a first name and a last name and an ID or a unique identifier. That's the primary key in this table. So you can see that it shows up over here in the songs table, as does the album ID. So from here over to here, we've got a connection, and it looks kind of like this. One unique identifier in the album table, and this album may appear many times in the songs table. And then we've got the same thing going from performer's ID over to our songs table. And again, that's a one-to-many relationship. Each of the songs now will have a genre and a year and a decade. And then all of this information is linked together as if it were in one big table, but it's very easy to manipulate having separated it out. So now we've got what looks like could be our final product. Keep in mind, we can tweak this again once we get into Microsoft Access and start building our tables and inserting our field, filling those records up with actual data. We may decide we're missing some information. Yes, we can modify the database design at any time, and we will do that a little bit later on. But next, it's time to get into Microsoft Access and start creating our tables and our fields and inputting data into our records.